What a game. What a game. Boston wins it. Just, oh man, just, that was a heck of a game. Yeah, I mean, they just totally flipped the script from game two. They brought the intensity. You know, I think it's going to be whoever brings the intensity the most is going to win this series. And tonight it was definitely Boston. They were the better team. They were definitely the aggressors. But man, I mean, the Boston Garden was just rocking tonight. Just, oof. I mean, I'm excited because, you know, it's just, that's what I want to see. I want to see a big-time series. And so far we got, this is 2-1 Boston. I think whoever wins Game 4 on Friday in Boston Garden, I think wins the series. So, huge game on Friday. And tonight, I mean, what a game. It's like the Celtics needed to respond. They brought the intensity. The crowd brought it. Everybody brought it. And they got the W. So, man, big shout out to the Big C. What a game. Like, oh man, just like as an NBA fan, I'm just like, yeah, this is what you want to see. I hope it goes 7 games, but, you know, Boston, that's a big win for Boston. I mean, they could close it out in 6 games. If they win Game 4, which they can totally win, I mean, I'm still going to say I got the Warriors in 7, but, man, it's a pick'em series. So, wow. And I'm going to mention the X factor. I think that the most underrated player in this series right now, the key to it all, not mentioned enough, Robert Williams. I mean, that guy is a beast. I mean, if he can stay on the court, because I know he's playing through an injury, but man, if he can stay on the court, I mean, right now they're playing him about 25 minutes. And if they could play him like 35 minutes, I mean, this series is a wrap. Like, if they could play him 35, 40 minutes, this series is a wrap. He is an elite. I mean, everybody talks about Marcus Smart. I'm sorry. The best defender on Boston's team is Robert Williams. That guy, man, he changed the game tonight. I mean, at the rim, this whole series, he's I mean, when you compare him to Al Horford, like, dude, I mean, Al Horford's been big, I know, for Boston, but, man, it starts with Robert Williams and it ends with Robert Williams. Just the block shots, the rebounding. Boston tonight, I rebounded the Warriors like it was like 47-30 something. They just destroyed the Warriors on rebounds and then in the paint. I think in the paint they scored like 56 points or something. I think way more than the Warriors had. I don't remember how much the Warriors had in the paint, but just way more. And you look at both of that, the reason for that, it's Robert Williams. I mean, the guy was just rebounding and he was protecting the rim. Rebounding on both sides of the ball and he was protecting the rim. I think when he was in the game, it was a plus 26. The highest plus minus of any Boston player. And only in 26 minutes. So he's the key to the series. Yeah, he needs to play more. But he was the key tonight. Boston's intensity, their rebounding, I said, points in the paint. They played on defense, man. They were driving me nuts on defense, man. Like, I was like, get up in the pick and roll. Like, every time the Warriors were coming off screens, like, they were getting wide open threes, and I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, that's like the one way you cannot let the Warriors beat you is on those 3-pointers. So, they were much better in the fourth quarter. They had very few turnovers in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, give it out to Boston. And that crowd, man, just... I mean, I was worried for Boston because they came out like gangbusters. I mean, just blitzing. I mean, just with that crowd. And I think at one point they were up like close to 20. And then they were only up 12 at half. And then in the third quarter, there was that 7-point play by Steph Curry on the 3-pointer in the flagrant. And then at that point, I was like, oh, man, like Boston's going to let this one slip again. And then they really respond in the fourth quarter. Very little turnovers. The intensity, they ratcheted up the intensity again. And it made the difference. It made the difference because the Warriors turned the ball over, I think, 5 or 6 times in the fourth quarter. They didn't get as many clean looks in the fourth quarter. And, you know, they just got out-rebounded the whole night. So, big time win for Boston. And, man, just such a turnaround from game 2. Like, I mean, that's what home court advantage will do. And that's why losing game 1 for the Warriors and losing that fourth quarter, you know, that might have been the costing, you know, the thing that's going to cost the Warriors from winning this championship, because, man, they need to win either game 4 or game 6. I mean, they're going to have to win game 5 at home, but it's going to be tough to win in the Boston Garden. If Boston plays with this kind of intensity, they don't beat themselves with turnovers, and they play Robert Williams 30-plus minutes, I mean, this series is a wrap. And you know, the thing with the Warriors, I mean, Wiggins didn't play poorly. I mean, he didn't shoot his threes well, but Klay Thompson played pretty well. Steph Curry played pretty well. You know, obviously Jordan Poole hasn't gotten going. Draymond wasn't good. But, you know, the Warriors, you know, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull this off. I got the Warriors in 7. I'm sticking with my pick because I'm not going to go against experience and great players. But, man, it all comes down to Game 4, Friday, 6 p.m. That game is going to be intense. Boston's got to keep that intensity up. Why, as a Warriors fan, I would still feel good is I thought Boston executed kind of poorly on defense. Their perimeter defense was pretty bad the first 3 quarters. The Warriors on defense executed very poorly tonight. They executed really well 3 days ago in that game 2 when they held Boston to under 90 points. Tonight they came out. You could tell they were rattled by that crowd, and so I think they got used to it. So I think in game 4 they'll be more ready, I think, to get a victory on the road. But they had no answer for Boston in that first half. They managed to stay in it, but barely. And then, you know, the third quarter they made their run, and then Boston just, you know, shut the door in the fourth quarter. But the Warriors, they can execute better on defense. I thought there was a lot of things they did very poorly. They didn't switch particularly well. They got in a lot of foul trouble, and, you know, it's kind of normal, you know, when you play on somebody's home court, they're going to get the calls. I think Warriors got more calls in game 2. Boston got more calls in this game. It's just nature of the beast, you know. And but yeah, the Warriors didn't execute well. I thought they were in foul trouble, and then they didn't switch on Tatum very well. Smart was pretty big. He hit a lot of his threes. He shot the ball really well tonight. Which, I mean, honestly, if there's one guy that I'm okay beating you, it's Smart, because I don't think he's a very good offensive player. Now, he played well tonight, but if he does that 4 games in the series, you know, just tip your hat, because yeah, I don't know. I don't feel him offensively, but Jaylen Brown came out like gangbusters, more quiet in the second half. Jason Tatum I thought was better in the second half. Horford was better on the offensive end. On defensive end, he was awful. Boston's having trouble because they're having, whether it's Daniel Theis and Hal Horford, like those 2 guys do not know how to play the pick and roll. I don't even know if Daniel Theis played tonight. I thought Grant Williams was very good. He brought physical toughness. But yeah, the Warriors, they got to execute better on the defensive end. Like, you got to take the approach of like Bill Belichick. Like, you got to take away something, like what Boston does best. Either you take away the 3-point ball or you take away the points in the paint, but you can't give them both. Tonight, Boston got both. They got their will at the bucket, and they got open threes. So you got to take away something. I thought the others for the Warriors, the role players, you know, outside of Klay, Steph, and Andrew Wiggins, I felt like nobody really played very well, whether it was defensively, offensively. And the problem with the Warriors, too, is when Steph starts knocking down shots, they become very Steph-centric. And the movement on offense isn't very good. I mean, you didn't see too many second and third passes from the Warriors. Jordan Poole really didn't get involved tonight. Kevon Looney didn't get involved. Draymond didn't get involved. Otto Porter had 2 threes, and that was it. Gary Payton didn't do much. I thought that the Warriors should have played Gary Payton more, actually. But he didn't have the same impact that he did in Game 2. So, Bjelica didn't do much. He didn't play much. I'm trying to think of anybody else. I'm forgetting, but yeah, every time they played Iguodala, I mean, they barely played him, but man, I just get scared because it's like, what are you doing? But yeah, that's the thing for the Warriors. I think offensively they got to move the ball more, and then defensively they got to execute. Like, you cannot let Tatum go one-on-one on Steph Curry all the time. Like, and Steph got in foul trouble, and that was, I mean, a lot of those calls I thought were just really bad, but nonetheless, like, he got in foul trouble, and Boston went after him, and they got the calls, and that was huge. That was huge. But if you're Steph Curry, you can't be that dumb to get in foul trouble. Draymond, I mean, got fouled out. You just cannot, like, as elite as they were on defense, they were very poor. Boston got to the rim at will. They got 3-pointers at will. They didn't get the turnovers. The Warriors committed more turnovers. They had 17 tonight to 12. So, yeah. So I think that's what you feel good about if you're for the Warriors. You say, hey, we adjusted to the Boston Garden atmosphere in the second half. And from the second quarter on, they adjusted to the Boston Garden atmosphere. I think they were down 11 after the first quarter, and in the second quarter, midway through, they were down like 20. So, and then defensively, there's a lot of things the Warriors can clean up. And I do think the Warriors have the defensive players. I thought Looney was very bad tonight. The Warriors have a lot of elite defensive players that can do a better job, especially because I don't think Boston's as good offensively as the Warriors are offensively. So there's a lot of things Boston can do. I mean, the Warriors can do to slow down Boston, because Boston got whatever they wanted tonight, and a lot of it just had to do with the energy they came out with. They just came out, attacking, and they were just the aggressors. They brought it, and whoever's going to be the aggressor 4 times out of 7 is going to win this series. So that's what it comes down to. I can mention points in the paint, I can mention rebounds, I can mention 3-point percentage, I can mention defensive execution, I can mention turnovers. All those things, it all comes down to, who's bringing intensity, who's the aggressor, without over fouling and getting crazy in technical fouls. And you could tell Draymond did not want to get thrown out tonight, and he didn't want to pick up a tech, so he was dialing it back with the referees. He was dialing back with the trash talking, with all of that. And you see it, that when he dials it back, he's not the same player. So it's tough for him, because he's got to tiptoe that line of being just this crazy maniac dude who's just barely under control, versus this guy who's not quite, like, it's like Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, and he's only effective when he's Jekyll. When he's Hyde, it's like, I mean, he's a good player, but he's not nearly the type of guy he was in Game 2. So, but yeah, the main thing for the Warriors is they got to execute defensively. They got to have better coverage, and they got to rebound the basketball. If you're Boston, you got to keep the intensity up, be the aggressor, use that home crowd, and keep Robert Williams in the game. Like, Robert Williams got to play. Al Horford was just exposed. Daniel Theis is exposed defensively. Like, keep Robert Williams in the game. Like, he's got to play 35, 40 minutes. I know he's dealing through a knee injury, but I'm just like, hey, Robert, bro, like, we got 4 games left. Just tough it out, bro. Like, I mean, I'll give you a blow like every 3 minutes, 3-4 minutes if you want, but you just got to play those 30 minutes, 35 minutes, just a little more. So, anyways, I can't wait. I can't wait for Game 4. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I picked Golden State in 7, so I'm rooting for them in Game 4. Mostly, I really want to see a 7-game series. So, if Boston wins Game 4, I think this series is a wrap. I think the Warriors will get Game 5, and I think Boston would get Game 6. I really do. So, I think Game 4 is the game. So, better watch out. Tune in. this Friday. I think it's going to be 6 p.m. I'm literally giving ABC their commercials here. So I missed the TNT guys. But anyways, yeah, tune in ABC. It's going to be one heck of a game. Like, I think Game 4 is for all the marbles. Like, if the Warriors lose Game 4, I mean, it's going to be an uphill battle. So, all right, bye guys.